of the Good morning. My name is Kathy Desmond, and I'm the president of the People's Emergency Center. I'd like to start by thanking everyone for coming today to the hearing. And a special thank you to Councilwoman Jannie Blackwell for hosting the resolution and the hearing. Today gives us an opportunity to talk about the crisis in affordable housing and some of the solutions that homelessness preservation dollars could afford. So at this point, I'd like to introduce Councilwoman Blackwell. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Most people who know me know how I feel about PEC. So when Kathy greets us here to talk about this issue, and People's Emergency Shelter is the oldest shelter in the state. So PEC, People's Emergency Center, has been around and been invaluable in my area and citywide. And we're here because at this particular time, as we begin the budget deliberations, we want to put a focus on saving people by prevention. We want to put a focus on how many millions of dollars we can save if we deal with preventive money. They do it in a few other places like New York, a home-based program, and we are interested in discussing that and other issues, putting on the record what people who deal with this issue do, how we can do it, and what we can do to be better in Philadelphia. Thanks. Let me call on some of my colleagues, if that's okay. Helen Gim.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman Blackwell. There's no question that the issue of homelessness and homeless prevention has been one that the city needs to deal with. For myself in particular, I'm very grateful to the advocates who have come out, who've been advocating for this for a long time, to remind us that shelters and emergency housing are not the only approaches to homelessness, that we really need to take a look at the prevention issues and some of the things that lead up to this situation. I'm especially grateful to the number of advocates who are out there addressing women and children, because we know that homelessness so deeply impacts them, and that the consequences of it are dramatic in terms of schooling, in terms of poverty issues, in terms of destabilization, mental health of young people, and in particular because so many women who end up in this situation often do so because of domestic violence, because of trauma in the home. So I'm incredibly grateful to the advocates who've been tireless in their advocacy to help raise attention to this critical issue. Thank you. Yes, and I'd be honored to introduce Alan Dom, Chair of the Housing Committee.
Thank you and good morning. And I want to especially thank everybody for being here today. I want to thank Councilwoman Blackwell for introducing this resolution that's the subject of today's hearing, which will examine the benefits of having a more robust homeless prevention program in our city. Increase our prevention efforts is a vital step towards our ultimate goal of eliminating homelessness in the city of Philadelphia. By the way, my grandmother taught me that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And that's in this topic also of homelessness. I want to again thank Councilwoman Blackwell and all of you for being here today. I look forward to this hearing and the many potential solutions that will help us get closer towards meeting our goal. Thank you very much. I'd like to call upon our Majority Leader, Councilman Heenan.
Good morning, and I too want to thank the Chairman, Councilwoman Blackwell, Councilman Gim, and Al Taubenberger to being here and having this hearing. I mean, the prevention part of homelessness and shelters and providing transitional housing is so essential with curing and trying to address the problem of moving the needle a little at a time. And I think the timing of this is just so appropriate. Having this hearing today, the public conversation is critical as we approach our budget hearing. And I want to let everybody know that we on City Council, we as chairpersons of these committees care a lot about the citizens of Philadelphia. and can assure you that the priorities that will be discussed here today will also be discussed during the budget hearings, and that's what we're about. You know, we're about taking care of people, and nobody knows it more than Jannie Blackwell, who's been taking care of people her entire career, her entire life, with every ounce of passion and will that she has in moving the needle. So I want to thank her for getting us to this point in the city of Philadelphia as we move forward to continue to move the needle and making this a priority. Prevention and the rate of return, I don't know how you can quantify a return on the investment with people's lives and futures, but we sure hell will give it a shot, and we're gonna move the needle, and we're gonna make a difference in people's lives, and we're gonna do it smartly. We're gonna do it with these hearings as we approach a budget hearing. So thank you all for being here.
I just would like to thank Councilwoman Blackwell as author of the resolution. Also, Councilman Dom as chair of the committee, and my colleagues that are all here, because with information that we will obtain from this hearing, we will be better able to come up with solutions that really can work. And this, without question, is a major problem in urban life today, and we need to do something about it. So thank you all, and thank you for all being here. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Daniel Farrell, Senior Vice President at Help USA. We're a national nonprofit of homeless and housing providers and homeless prevention providers. I want to thank Councilwoman Blackwell and Councilwoman Gim, Councilman Dom for sponsoring today's hearing, and just want to talk briefly about homeless prevention in general. You know, in a civil society, we work to prevent negative outcomes both for the individual and the group. We work to prevent smoking among young adults. We work to prevent drunk driving. We work to prevent diabetes, obesity, all sorts of problems that a civil society looks to address. We work to prevent them. But yet nationally, we do very little on a national scale for homeless prevention. So I want to talk just briefly about our success in doing homeless prevention both in New York City and Las Vegas. In New York, we run homeless prevention programs in the Bronx, a number of them, in which we serve close to 5,000 unduplicated families and single adults in a year, and 99% of those folks a year out do not enter shelter. That's 99%. Now you say that 99% is nice, but the baseline, as we understand it, it should be 90%. So we are well above the threshold and the benchmark for success. Homeless prevention can work. It does work. It's been replicated in other cities. We're really excited and thrilled to be here and having this important conversation today. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Rachel Falkov, and I'm here with the Family Service Provider Network. My agency is the Philadelphia Interfaith Hospitality Network, and we are a coalition of congregations and community organizations working together to prevent and to help families experiencing homelessness in our neighborhood communities. We work very closely with all of the council people here today, and I thank them for having us here and for drawing attention to this important issue. Essentially, what we're here about today is to talk about not just the homelessness system in Philadelphia, but talk about the front end, the people who are really at risk of homelessness, and to talk about the back end, what happens to the people when they get out. The Family Service Providers Network wants us to be able to increase resources and services for homeless prevention at the front end, and we think we have some creative ways of doing that with the Housing Trust Fund as a possible funding source of part of that. We also want to increase affordable housing options at the back end. You know, we have to both build the homes, and then we also have to prevent people from coming into the system. Right now, we have a logjam system. People can't get in because people can't get out. So the solution is in affordable housing and in helping people afford the housing that they currently have. We also want to fortify the existing shelter and transitional housing system. The system's been flat funded for the past 8 years, and the providers here today have been doing more with less for a very long time. That's resulted in cuts in services and cuts in effectiveness, and with longer lengths of stay. So this is something else that we're asking City Council to consider in the upcoming budget. Finally, we want to partner creatively with business, faith communities, and community organizations. It really does take a village. It's more than just government funding that's going to get this job done. We have some advocates from our participating congregations here who are doing tremendous amount. We have one organization here, the St. Vincent de Paul Society, part of the Catholic Church, that has been actually preventing homelessness quietly for the past, I don't know how many years, but it's 225 families a year, 225 families a month who they are helping to prevent homelessness with small targeted grants. So again, I thank all of the advocates for being here and all of the community folks who came out to support this effort. I also have 750 drawings from, which is what we expect, 750 drawings of houses. And this is actually the number of households that we expect to be helped with $3 million of Housing Trust Fund monies dedicated to prevention. Thank you. Oh, I was going to introduce our families. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, I forgot the most important part. Can our families come forward? I'd like to introduce Nancy House and Aubrey House, and also Andrea Jordan, who are here today to speak about their experiences, both facing homelessness and also in the system, and now some creative solutions that we've done with master lease housing for them, which got them out of shelter a lot faster. So we're looking forward to sharing their stories with you. Thank you for coming today.
Hi, as she said, I'm Nancy House. I'm 50 years old, single mother of two, a 23-year-old and an 11-year-old. I've been through a lot of hard knocks. I lived in New Jersey for a long time and found that I couldn't live there anymore because of the rent and just the cost of living, so I moved back home with my parents. I lived there for a while, and then I was able to get an apartment on my own through my family members. I rented an apartment from my aunt for about 7 years, and she passed on and gave it to another relative. After that, the relative decided to raise the rent without doing any work on the apartment. And at that time, my job, where I work at Wawa, decided to cut my hours from 40 hours to 24. Because of that, I was in risk of losing my apartment. My electric, okay. I was at Interfaith for a while because I did my taxes and all with them, and my daughter was involved in a lot of the programs. Rachel came to me because she realized there was a problem. So I had told her my situation, and she goes, okay, let's sit down and we'll figure out how your budget spending is. She found that I wasn't making enough. So since my aunt was kicking me out, the other aunt, Rachel brought me into the shelter. I stayed there for about 6 months with my daughter Aubrey. My oldest had already moved off and was married with her first child. So we stayed at different churches, congregations, for about 6 months. Rachel introduced me to a new program she started. It's called Master Lease. What happens is, the first year, Interfaith would subsidize the rent to an apartment. She showed me the apartment, brand new apartment, loved it. So I said, okay, I'll try it. Aubrey was happy, she was excited. We got in, everything went well the first year. Interfaith paid like half the rent, I paid the rest. I was able to do that, even with the 24 hours. The second year came, I was able to pay on my own. I used my income tax check that I got back, which was about $5,000. Rachel and Keone told me to put it towards my rent as the subsidy. I did, and because of that, EITC chapter. Sorry. After I did that, I was able to pay about $300 a month for my rent. It made it so much easier because I'm able to pay my bills, my car insurance, and I'm in school, which I'll be graduating hopefully this month. Yay! So I thank Interfaith more than anything. If it wasn't for them and the way they helped me do my rent, I wouldn't have a place to stay. So thank you. Prevention does work. Do you want to say anything? My daughter Aubrey?
When me and my mom were in the old apartment, she was struggling, and I was doing really bad in school. And when my mom told me we were moving out, I didn't want to leave. I was like married to that apartment since I was like 2. And my mom showed me the apartment. I was excited, but I still didn't want to leave the other apartment. So I just really happy that I have a place to stay. And if it wasn't for Miss Rachel, I wouldn't have a place to call my home. Thank you.
And she's back up to straight A's and B's. She's in a theater department at Yes and Collaborative Arts through Interfaith. So we've moved up.
Thank you. We're going to begin our hearing now. Thank you very much.